Hello, everyone. So, thank you for engaging on the last post. Still continuing on this series for cabin crew interview prep. So, I'm just going to tell you why I think I flunked out on Etihad's higher view video assessment. So, make sure you learn from my mistakes and improve. Learn and improve. So, number one, generally, I would say a lack of preparation on my part. And I can further break this down into specifics, which is A part. So, lack of preparation in the terms of I did not prepare myself knowledge base wise, for the interview. Like, giving when I applied, I was given like 3 days to make sure I send in my response. So that alone puts me like on the edge. I was already playing defense instead of, you know, being way more prepared. So my advice is try to before you send in your application to any of these airlines, always make sure that at least you are prepared, let me say 50-60%, so that by the time they get back to you, you know that you are just rounding off or cleaning out the edges. Because in this case, I got 3 days, some other persons got 7 days, and some other persons got, 14 days, just like that. So imagine comparing someone who has 3 days to practice and then prepare and do everything. The outcomes are not going to be the same to someone else who had way more extensive time to prepare. And then the B part, I would say in the aspect of gadgets. So when you want to do any of these interviews, please put it in mind that you need a mic, you need external lights, and the one that I did not get, which I did not even know I would need, that is the tripod. Because it would get to a particular time when they will say they want to see like you standing, make sure you are standing, they want your full body to be in the video. I tried doing this when I was doing the Etihad's video assessment, but I realized that the because I didn't have a tripod, like I put my phone on multiple book stands or so. But and the more I kept moving back, I could tell I was moving out of dimension. Like I could not see myself, so I ended up sitting down for that aspect where they said stand, which could also be one of the reasons why I didn't scale through. So make sure you get all these things in check. Mic, lights, tripod. Still on the same side of gadgets, get your calculators out. Make sure that when you are seated for the interview, you have a notepad, you have a pen, and you have a calculator. There were some calculations here and there, and I was like, oh my god. I started scoring around, like trying to stretch my neck. Okay, where's my pen? Where is my. You don't need all that. All those things further would increase your anxiety, which could influence or impact your performance. For the venue, plan your venue. Venue wise, make sure that you pre plan ahead. If you don't have, a quiet area where you are staying, try to look out for places where you could do the interview without any noise. Just to give you ideas of places you could be, you could talk to a friend, maybe they live in a quiet neighborhood, or someone's office where they have their office to themselves, or in a church. I don't know. Just find a place where you would not have any noise and you would be allowed to concentrate. Data. So make sure you have like a backup data plan. So don't just have only your phone data going on for you, and then you will now be worried, oh, what if I run out of data? What if something anything could happen? Like even if you are sure that your data, your phone, you are really subscribed, anything could happen. What if your network at that moment just ceased? Like when I was doing my ATS assessment, I was just praying. I said, God, do not allow this data to finish. And that as well it will put you on the edge because you are trying to speed up. You are not relaxed. On the C aspect of the lack of preparation, I would say not understanding the question before you give a response. You first assimilate what is the question that is being asked. So if you have to break down the sentences bit by bit for you to understand first before you craft a final response to give. Mind you, I want to let you know that given that 3 days time for me to prepare, I also had to make my own research online for me to see the questions I would be expecting. So I already like pre-knew, let me say, a day, 1 day short of my 3 days time, and I had to just quickly do something. So I think that too also played a factor, like I said. So let me just give you an example of the question from Etihad's higher view assessment that would require you to first break it down before you start answering in your head, and then you now have to use the STAR method to craft a very professional and structured response. So they said, describe a time when you needed to establish a connection quickly with someone at work, school, or university. That is already one aspect. Then there's no then in this question anyway. How did you do it? That's another aspect of breaking down the question. What steps what steps did you take to build that relationship? So if you look at this question, you would know that it's like a three-in-one question. And if you understand the STAR method, you already know that this question is like following that structure already. So it's like they're making it simple for you. So it's like now you just have to know which of the question would be in the situation, which one would go under the task. Then definitely I think the steps would go under the action. And then finally you must tell them the results. That is where they are driving at. They want to know what was the end point, the end goal of everything that we did. Results. So you see the STAR method is still reflecting in all these airlines, so always incorporate that into your interview prep. Finally, I know I've said I did not prepare, according to my own, you know, I know I did not really put in like how much I would love to, but I still showed up. Like I would rate my performance, let me say 60%. But at the end of the day, I just like to believe in the will of God for everything. Like, why was it that I got 3 days and somebody got 7 days and somebody else got 14 days, and we are all going to answer the same questions? Is still the will of God, and they would have way more time to prepare. Why me? I was there, And mind you, the question before the questions came out, I had to, I was on the streets of YouTube. I didn't even come to TikTok. On the streets of YouTube, looking out for questions. Hey, do you know what questions will be asked? So all those things I know. I believe in the will of God, and definitely when it's my time and my turn, it will happen for me. So yes, that is my own aspects. See you later. Bye.